Yes.
Yeah, okay, we'll just, whatever.
Good evening. Welcome to the Oconee County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, April the 29th, 2025. After a moment of silence, we're going to ask Holly to lead us in the pledge. Please stand. Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item of business will be to approve the agenda.
Make a motion, approve the agenda as submitted.
Second. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any statements or remarks from citizens on anything not on tonight's agenda? Any statements or remarks from commissioners? We want to announce the town hall meeting on May 13th. It'll be at 6 o'clock here in this room. Also, the roundabout at Snows Mill and Lane Creek Road is ready for construction. There will be some detour requirements for this construction, so be on the lookout for those details. Should be coming out sometime this week. Also, the Jimmy Daniel Recycle Center will be closing as part of the 316 interchange, and that scheduled date for the last day of service there is July the 30th. With that, we'll move on to our contracts, right-of-ways, and award bids. First item is to discuss the design bid service for the roundabout at Cold Springs, Clotfelter Road, and Highway 53. Jody?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This item of business is award of design services for a roundabout at State Route 53, Cold Springs Road, Clotfelter Road, to Southeastern Engineering Incorporated in the amount of $175,000. This project will be designed following the GDOT encroachment permit, very similar to the way the roundabout at the building here was constructed. Public Works recommends awarding design services for the State Route 53 at Cold Springs Road, Clotfelter Road roundabout to Southeastern Engineering, Inc. with a not to exceed price of $175,000, authorizing the chairman to execute necessary documents, approving future budget amendments up to the contract amount for the life of the project. And this would be funded through T-Splost.
Any questions for Jody on that one?
I had one, I was trying to find it in the contract. It says they can start work immediately, but how long will they take to complete the scope of services?
Don't remember if it said I don't remember if it said the timeline in it. I'll find it out and get it to you. It is a lot quicker than the federal aid process. So having design plans ready to go is a matter of months instead of a couple of years. And then once we get the right-of-way plans, we would move into the right-of-way acquisition phase, and then construction would be when funds are available.
So we're not going to set any kind of timetable until we get this study done.
That's correct. When we get them kicked off, we'll get a timeline for them, and I'll get that to you.
But as far as the next step, we have to wait until they finish their work and then.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So you're not ready to make a.
No, I'm not
timeline
ready
for that. That's
I'm
what
not
I'm
ready for
asking.
bulldozers yet.
All right. Well, if you could find out what they're about before our meeting next week, just let us
Okay.
know. Thank you.
Any other questions? This be all right for consent agenda? Next item is discuss replacement of the Oconee Veterans Park pump station for irrigation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The pump station, which provides all the irrigation at OVP, has reached end of life. Our facilities manager, as well as some outside people, took a look at it. The recommendation is to install a new concrete wet well structure as well as a new well house over it. This item was put out for bid as an RFP service. The winning bid was Shoemaker Irrigation. And so the total is $277,500. So staff is recommending moving to replace the irrigation system, the wet well, with the drives for this amount. And we're recommending this as well as the necessary budget amendments for the life of the project. Happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Justin on this item? You all right for consent agenda? Next time is discuss the award for the RFP for the Civic Center repairs. Whitney?
Good evening. As you know, our Civic Center is a beloved and heavily utilized facility. The scope of repairs for the project include painting, drywall repair, door replacement, flooring replacement, and a few other minor items. As of this evening, I am actually just providing an update to you all that we are waiting on some clarifications from some of the contractors. We had 3 bids come in for this project, and we plan to bring that recommendation to you next week.
Any questions yet? Yeah.
Have I? I personally have not talked to the school system. I know that some of the school board members are aware of the upcoming projects. Very.
Excuse me, Board, if I could add just one other thing. Just a few other ancillary items with the, Whitney, when she took over the Civic Center, some other ideas. We are also going to be looking to upgrade on the theater side, the lighting and sound system as well. Just a few other items as far as the Civic Center and its totality, items that she's looking at.
Our next time is discuss the 441 collection site scale house replacement. Jody?
This item of business is the award of RFP 25-02-011. This is for the replacement of the scale house at the 441 Macon Highway collection site. We received 3 bids as part of the response, part of the RFP. After evaluation, Riley Contracting Incorporated was the recommended vendor. The proposed project budget is $271,060, which includes the construction price of $246,060 and a $25,000 contingency. Public Works recommends awarding the project to Riley Contracting, Inc. with a project budget of $271,060, authorizing the chairman to execute documents and approving budget amendments for the life of the contract up to the contract amount. This would be a capital expense.
Do you have any questions for Jody on this? You're all right for consent agenda? Thank you. Next time is discuss the bid award for the construction manager at risk for the courthouse renovation project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is the CMAR of the courthouse renovations that are currently under design by Precision Planning. The 7 total proposals were submitted for the CMAR, and the committee is recommending Kevin Price Construction as the top firm for awarding the construction manager at risk. The total cost for the services for initially is $242,577 for general conditions with a 3.9% fee for the cost of construction. They'll be working directly with staff as well as with Precision Planning to develop ultimately a guaranteed maximum price, and we'll be bringing that to you once that is completed for approval at that time.
Any questions? You're all right for consent? Now we're ready for our third quarter FY25 financial update. Melissa?
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. The fiscal update is as said through March 31st, 2025 through third quarter. And we will be taking a look at the major funds of the county government, starting with the general fund, which is the main operating fund for Oconee County. And starting with revenues, we are collected through March at $36.9 million. It's close to 86% of budget. As you can see here, the various sources of those revenues. The first column illustrated is the amended budget. You can see the year-to-date collected through March 31st, that percentage, and then the remaining funds to be collected to meet budget. In the taxes line item, that includes our real property taxes for 2024 calendar year. We are at 99.03% collected. Also includes items such as ad valorem tax, insurance taxes, and our local option sales taxes that we continue to collect through the rest of the year. You can see that our charges for services at 63%. I do want to note that the 90% reimbursement that the school board provides for the school resource officers goes back into this revenue line item. So that budget has been elevated. What you see in year-to-date revenues would be for anything spent in February and March. So we have a higher budget, but not much activity for year-to-date, which brings that percent collected down. We are almost fully collected on licenses and permits, intergovernmental revenues. We are fully collected on miscellaneous revenues and investment income and other financing sources. Some miscellaneous revenues include things like leases and rebate fees. Other financing sources are sales of assets. We have 8 major vehicles sold this year and a right-of-way, abandoned right-of-way sale, with more pending sales to come in the next quarter. So just as a overall statement, I do anticipate that we will meet our budgeted revenues for FY25. Third quarter expenditures at close to 29 million, right at 64% of the budget. So I have 2 slides to illustrate those expenditures by departments. Just as a blanket statement, when looking through all of the departments, an overall theme was that there was a low spend of budget throughout professional services, which contains things like consulting and engineering services. Audit or legal services would be included in that. But particularly on this page, item 5, law enforcement at 60%. Again, this is where the school resource officer's budget is. That's a $1.4 million budget, and as of March, we had only spent $53,000 of those funds. And the remaining departments are listed here. Just a couple items of note: public safety, public works, community development, all have funds that are recorded as transfers out to other funds at year end if needed. So those transfers haven't occurred yet, bringing those percent spend levels down. If I remove those transfers, they are all right around 65 to 70% spent for the year. In operations, that line item includes fleet. We do have some unused capital funds for vehicles in fleet, which we are working to use, and in park programs, we do have ongoing programs in the fourth quarter, so we will have additional spend there. There is also a park allocation expense in programs that occurs at year end. So looking at all those into consideration, we would be right around 74%. So I don't think that we're going to spend everything that's budgeted in the current fiscal year, but there are also no upcoming items that would throw us over our spend for the year. Okay, these are some items that are budgeted in capital of the general fund. So I'll just kind of give you an overview of what's changed since the last time we looked at this slide. The storage area network upgrade in IT is now currently in process. And the last 3 line items on the bottom table have been added since last quarter. So we have 2 additional law enforcement vehicles and equipment. The vehicles have been purchased and the equipment is in process. We have SRO vehicles, which is the school resource officers, at $300,000, and to date we have not used those funds, as well as 2 spreaders for the road department, both of which have been received. And then these are the general fund vehicle purchases, all of which have been received prior to the current quarter. So no changes here. And the capital fund, these projects will stay in process for some time. They're typically longer term projects, but we do have an addition at the bottom for courthouse improvement engineering. This was added during the third quarter and is also currently in process. Looking at our local option sales taxes, this is part of our general fund operating taxes revenues. Our current year's quarter as compared to prior year's quarter is on the screen, and it's approximately a 6% increase over prior year. Distributions collected fiscal year to date are 8.6 million, which is 79% of the budgeted amount. And we do anticipate that we will collect the full budget plan for local option sales tax. The SPOS distributions are also up 5.9% over same quarter last year. Year-to-date receipts at 9.7 million. It's 124% collected to budget. This budget's balanced to what we plan to spend, so our revenues cover what's budgeted for the year. And T-SPOS also up over prior year's quarter by 7.5%, with collections at 9 million, just 79% to budget. Also, looks like we are going to meet our budgeted revenues for here as well. So SPOS and T-SPOS are held in separate funds, are both capital funds. This is a listing of the capital projects or purchases pending. Since last quarter, our SPOS portion of the paving project has been completed. Our courthouse fire pump is also complete. The AX building engineering and electrical is still in process, but very close to completion, will be completed in the fiscal year. There are some fixtures that are still on order. The Bogart Sports Complex protective netting project is complete, and we added farmland preservation and the fire tanker truck in the third quarter. Farmland preservation did close, and the tanker truck is in process. And T-SPOS, the T-SPOS funded portion of the Hog Mountain multi-use path is complete, as well as the Calm Ferry patching and widening. And we added the Dials Mill widening and the Snows Mill and Lane Creek roundabout construction, both of which are also in progress. And finally, we'll look at our largest enterprise fund, the Water Resources Department, with revenues of 14.7 million, which is close to 97% collected. Because it's an enterprise fund, we do account for a few things a little bit differently. So I'd like to mention that our GFA debt draws are included in this revenue number. To date, we have drawn 1.5 million on that GFA loan. We'll adjust that out at year end, but taking that into consideration, when that is pulled out, they're about 88% collected. Water and sewer sales are strong at 78 and 82% of budget. We also have capacity and connection fees that are in excess of budget by 700,000, and water availability and install fees in excess of budget by 340,000. And spent as close to 11 million at 51%. So you can see the categories of spend here. So in operations, which is personnel, purchase, services, and supplies, looks great for a third quarter. So ranging from 66 to 76%. The other items kind of pull that percentage down a little bit for total expenses. Capital at 34%. The bulk of that capital budget is in the Calls Creek treatment facility budget, and we do expect a cost savings in that. So hopefully we won't reach that full spend in capital. Depreciation is just a year-end accounting entry, and debt service is according to the amortization schedules, and other costs are lower than anticipated. This is the original budget capital plan for water resources, with one change. These amounts were adjusted in third quarter to remove some easements that weren't going to be purchased so that we could use those funds in repairs and maintenance towards the Clot Filter Bridge project. So these amounts have been revised to show that. Otherwise, there is not any change in the status of any of the projects listed. In the Calls Creek and Bear Creek water treatment facility, design services were part of a multi-year budget. So these rolled into the budget in FY25, all of which is still in process and no changes to report here either. So that does conclude the presentation. We'll plan to put it on the finance page of the county website. But if anyone does have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
I've got one. It's not for Melissa, more for question about the, we're going to, any movement on replacing that sewer line down at Coles that we're having trouble with? Is there any conversation about replacing it or anything?
Oh, the one near Tanglebrook?
Yeah, yeah,
We've moved to order the material for it already.
just to replace it altogether.
We've identified a 100-yard segment that for prudence should be replaced at this point. We're moving forward with that.
So what kind of impact does it have on their budget?
Right now, it's just a material cost. We're looking potentially to self-perform it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for Melissa? Thank you.
Thank
you. Okay.
Okay.
Ask Cole, so you may have to come back, give us.
Okay.
I'm just curious, if we went back, let's say 5 years or so, and track our sales tax
Mm-hmm,
and see it on a graph,
mm-hmm.
how it looks now versus 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you back to about 4 years, what's when the current SPOS referendum started. It was initially more heavily towards maybe a 10% increase. When we saw the Costco development come on, we saw about a 17% increase jump. This fiscal year and last fiscal year has been really consistent at around 6%, kind of hovering, dipping below that and rising back up above that.
But it looked to you, it looks strong.
It does, yes, and it's consistent. And I can share a worksheet with you if you'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think it, because seems like we kind of moved in a different position than it was when I first got in the county commission on school board.
Mm.
And we couldn't do, we couldn't look the way we're looking now. Back then, it was lean times.
Mhm.
But with the retail, it seems that, you know, for a county that our population to have big boxes that we have and all the other supporters, the smaller ones, they're doing well.
Mhm.
Thank you for keeping a watch for those numbers.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next item is discuss a change order for the utility relocation for Highway 53 at Snows Mill, Rocky Branch Road. Adam?
Good evening, Commissioners. I won't take too much of your time. This is going to be for the 53 Snows Mill Rocky Branch Roundabout project. We're pretty heavy into the waterline relocation currently, approaching the end of that. Upon further field investigation, we did find out that there's a certain section that was not existing within the right of way we do have. So an additional 160 foot of 12-inch ductile iron pipe will be needed to complete the project. That will be a total increase of $22,880 for this project. This request also includes any necessary budget amendments up to the contract amount for the life of the project. Any questions?
Have any questions for Adam? You're all right for consent? Thank you. Next item is discuss the Heritage Park easement plat agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Mr. Charles Rowland on Branch Road has been gracious enough to grant us a emergency access easement through his property so that we can provide emergency access to the backside of Heritage Park. This item of business is to take and accept the easement plat agreement in exchange for $1. This would provide a 20-foot emergency-only access easement to Heritage Park from Branch Road. This is a significant public safety access point and improvement for the park utilization. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Justin on it?
We have to do any site work?
There will be, there's some, in order to install that, we'll have to put in probably a few, there's some ditches and some culverts, and we'll put up a gate at Branch Road to ensure that it's emergency only access point. Some minor grading may be required, but not a significant amount.
I guess we'll self-perform that.
That would be the intention.
Any other questions on this item? You're all right for consent? Good. Next item is discuss the 2025 local road assistance application.
This item of business is an application for the Local Road Assistance Administration funding for FY '25. This is a program that the legislature approved and they did it also last year. And it's very similar to the LMIG program, the Local Maintenance Improvement Grant, with the exception being LMIG requires a 30% match, but the LRA funds do not require a match. But the formula amount for Oconee County for FY '25 is $927,866.12. And Public Works is requesting to utilize these funds for the construction of roundabouts at Union Church Road and New High Shoals Road, and then Colum Ferry Road at Astondale Road. The total project estimated cost for both projects is $1,385,000. And so Public Works recommends authorizing the FY '25 LRA submittal to Georgia DOT, authorizing the chairman to sign the necessary documents and approving any future budget amendments up to the contract amount for the life of the project. The financial impact would be the LRA funds at $927,000, $866.12. And then any remaining balance required for those two intersections would be T-splossed.
Any questions on that item?
When will those projects start?
The Union Church at New High Shoals, I think Jessica will have it posted on the website tomorrow. And bid opening is, I think she has it scheduled for May the 30th. And then we're working on getting right away on the Colum Ferry at Astondale. That would be the next one to bid. So it would be in FY '26, but more than likely in this calendar year.
Any other questions? You all right for consent agenda? Next item is discuss replacement of the jail server. Melissa?
Thank you. Here this evening to request a budget amendment for an equipment replacement at the jail. The current server stores their footage for their CCTV recording system, surveillance system. And the current server is at the end of its life, and they are having trouble getting support to maintain it and to fix it when there are difficulties. So they're requesting to upgrade the server as well as the CCTV workstations that connect to the server. This would give them additional capacity and new features as well. The budget amendment request is for $54,368. We do have $50,000 available for this in our capital assigned fund balance. So we would be requesting to use those funds along with an additional $4,368 from current year revenues.
Any questions from Melissa on that? You all right for consent? Next time is discuss the FY '25 Civic Center vehicle.
All right. This request is for a revenue neutral budget amendment. The Civic Center currently has a 2019 Ford Transit that they don't really have much of a use for that type of vehicle, and they would like to transfer that to our facility department so that it could be used. With that, we would like to find a replacement vehicle for the Civic Center. The budget amendment would be to request excess funds from Fleet's budget from the general fund and move those funds over to our enterprise fund to the Civic Center so that they can make a purchase for a vehicle not to exceed $20,000.
Any questions from Melissa on that? All right. Be all right for consent. And our next item is discuss the FY '25 Senior Center van purchase.
All right, the Senior Center is requesting a budget amendment for 2 van replacements. The 2 that they currently have are at the end of their useful life, and Fleet has been able to locate 2 vehicles that are currently available on a state contract. They're 2025 Champion Challenger vehicles, which is the same that they currently have. The cost is $117,150 each. And we are requesting a budget amendment to purchase the vehicles from the fund balance at the senior center.
Any questions on that one?
What's the seating capacity?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that.
For 117,000, I hope it's a lot.
That one has a lift on it for the wheelchairs, and they got, I think, 4 or 3 wheelchair seats, and then ever how many benches. Any other questions? Be all right for consent agenda? Thank you. We do have need of executive session to discuss land acquisition and personnel.
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session for land acquisition and personnel.
Motion second, all in favor? Motion carried. All in favor? Commissioner Saxon,
Motion adjourned.
second, we're adjourned.